Okay, welcome back to another edition of The Right Call. This is a special edition of The Right Call to discuss the championship Westborough summer season. I'm joined by Cole Altman and Thomas Cashman. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here.
And we're gonna have a call-in guest as well momentarily. But guys, I got to start with the obvious question. The weekend before the playoffs even started, we get punked by Marlborough. No one really shows up. We weren't ready to play. Thomas, what were you thinking after that game? Did you think we were a championship caliber team after that game?
Honestly, I think we were a first round exit, like off the start after that game. We had like 2 hits.
Yeah, two hits.
Yeah. And no one did like anything. Brady got a hit and someone else, and that's basically it.
And Cole, what about? Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, and we had some errors, right? We had like 3 or 4.
Yeah, we just didn't do much right in that game at all. So, Cole, what about you? What was your mindset coming out of that game heading into the playoffs?
Well, I thought, as Thomas said, I thought we were going to be a first-round exit. Our team did not look good at all. Our hitting was off point, and our fielding wasn't doing well at all, so I thought we were in trouble. But we came out at Maynard with a passion, and we got a caller in now.
Okay, we've got a caller. Welcome to the Right Call. Who's on the phone?
Benjamin Friedberg.
Ben Friedberg. All right, Ben, how are you?
Doing great.
Ben, so you know these guys. You know Cole Altman and Thomas Cashman, right?
Yeah.
So, Ben, we're talking the Westborough playoffs. I don't know if you're aware, but these guys won the championship. And so, Ben, what do you think these guys – did you expect these guys to win a championship or what?
Oh, for baseball?
Yes.
No, for soccer.
I went to one of the games. They looked pretty good, so I definitely thought it was possible they could win a championship, after seeing that game.
And, Ben, what's your scouting report on Thomas Cashman's baseball skills? Like, how would you describe his skill set?
Well, he's doing really great until the third inning, and just seemed to fall off pitching.
What happened in the third inning, Ben? What happened?
He got pulled out, and you gave up some runs, I believe.
All right, Ben, hang on. Ben, hang on the line. We also have another caller, really popular guest today. Hold on a second. Caller, welcome to The Right Call.
Hello?
Hello?
All right.
Is this Alex Carpenter?
It is.
Alex, we've got multiple callers. Ben Friedberg was calling on the other line, so I'm going to have to bounce back and forth with you guys. Alex, welcome to The Right Call. We're talking about the Marlborough game before the playoffs and how we kind of stunk up the joint. And, Alex, what was your thought process after that game? Did you feel like we were a playoff caliber team?
One bad game doesn't define a team. And after that game, obviously, it was a rough game by our team. But we've had so many great games throughout the year that I knew we could put this game behind us and turn it around.
So let's fast forward, guys, to the playoff game against Maynard. This is a team so this is our semifinal matchup. We played these guys in the regular season, trailing 7-2 in the last inning in the regular season game. We rallied for 6 runs to beat them in one of our biggest wins of the year to that point. So going into the Maynard game, what were you thinking were the keys to win? Alex, what did you think we needed to do to win that game?
Honestly, I thought first we had to focus on pitching because that last game we gave up 7 runs, and we knew we could hit. We scored 8 runs that game. Even though it did come in the last inning, we knew we could hit against them. So first things first, we had to focus on our pitching, and once that happens, then the rest was pretty good with hitting.
Now, Alex, you may not be aware of this. Before I go to Thomas on this, and I don't even think Thomas and Cole may be aware of this, you, who did struggle a little bit offensively in the regular season, were 4 for 4 in the playoffs. So,
wow.
Alex, for you, what was the difference? Because you turned it on when it mattered most, rose to the occasion. So what do you think was the difference for you offensively in the playoffs?
I think, the moment, I tend to do good in the moment. And also Coach Brendan and Coach Chris, they were giving me some pointers to help with my swing. And I think that just helped me feel confident, and I got some good hits.
That's great. And so in that Maynard game, we played so well. So we scored 2 runs in the first 5 innings of that game. So we jumped out to a 10-1 lead. Justin McCafferty, our ace pitcher, was tremendous in that game. Then, Alex, you came in for a little bit. Brady came in for a little bit. So we bring in our closer, Thomas, in the 7th inning of that game. I'm like, okay, I'm going to my closer, Thomas. And all of a sudden,
Control wasn't there.
Thomas, what happened?
I don't even know, to be honest. Like, so many people were, like, trying to change my my wind-up based off of one inning I had. And then that just threw me off because I was thinking about it too much. And, yeah, after that, my control was just messed up.
And I want to say that Thomas, who has been a huge contributor all year for us defensively and offensively, who felt really bad after that game, even though it worked out fine. We held on to win 10-4. And I got to tell you, Thomas, when you showed up for the championship game, I just had a good feeling about you that game. Like, you just seemed like you came in ready to play, good attitude. I mean, am I reading that right? Like, you seemed ready to roll that day.
It's a championship game. You have to be ready to play. Like, every game you show up for the playoffs, you have to be ready. But obviously, it's the championship. You got to tune up a little bit more.
Now, Cole, let's go to you. So we, as I said, we jump out to the 10-1 lead in that game. And, Cole, you had some adventures on the bases in that game.
I did.
So I have to ask you, what was going on? Because you actually led the team in batting average for the season. And so I got to ask you, what happened with the base running blunders? Was it just a brain fart? Like, what happened?
Yeah, so I didn't realize there was 2 outs. I thought there was 1. I thought there was 1 out, so I went halfway, and
then he jogged around the bases.
I jogged around. I really thought
and he was safe.
I was safe. I don't know how I was safe, but from what I'm being told, the ball was already in the infield when I circled third base.
It was. Yeah, it was.
So I had no business going home. And
the third baseman had the ball. Like, he was 10 feet away from you, and you started to jog. You weren't running. You were jogging.
It's true.
It was like a speed walk home.
And I heard, Dad, you saying, now what is he doing?
That's great. That's great. That is exactly what I said.
Third baseman threw it like 10 feet over the catcher's head, and he was safe.
So, okay. So we win the game 10-5. Max actually came in. Max Hagan came in to relieve Thomas in that game to finish things up, and it was getting dark anyway, so we just snuck that game in. So, Alex, now we win 10-5. The team's fired up. Played one of our best games of the year, all-around games in the year. Alex, do you think heading into that championship game, the team had so much confidence from the previous game that it was just our game to lose, basically?
Oh, definitely. I mean, we definitely put that Marlboro game behind us, and we played up to that point our best game of the year. We were hitting, we were pitching. Obviously, we had a couple blunders towards the end, but I mean, we were feeling super confident. And going into the game against Westford, we beat them pretty handily twice, so it was definitely our game to lose.
So my thought process in the championship game against Westford, as Alex just alluded to, we beat him in Westford 8-1. We beat him at home 7-5. And Alex pitched in both of those games and pitched both really well. So I'm thinking, I'm going to save Alex for Westford. We start Brady, who, honestly, Brady was our best player all season. He was our most consistent player all season in the field, pitching, hitting. He was second in batting average, first in on-base percentage. So, but Brady had a rare bad start. Like, Brady really struggled in the beginning of that game against Westford. His arm hurt. I think it was from football practice. He was tired, Thomas, right?
Oh, yeah. We've been having football, like, all summer.
Yeah, and if you're lifting weights and you're playing football to come and pitch, I mean, that's tough.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So, all right, so Brady comes in. He struggles. We bring in the Westford killer, Alex Carpenter, to bail out Brady. And Alex, I got to ask you, when I watch you pitch, it literally looks like you're so calm on the mound. I actually joke to the coaches, I feel like a bullet could whiz by you while you're on the mound, and you'd be like, oh, I guess that was a bullet. So, like, how are you just so, like, calm and relaxed? Because it was a pressure situation.
Yeah. For me, like, I realize being stressed and getting upset doesn't do me any good. Like, I feel like I'm best when I'm calm and I'm focused. And if I can have that, like, mentality, then I know if, like, for instance, like, I give up a hit, rather than being down or upset, that won't do me any good. So I know the best way to bounce back is be calm, and that's what I did against Westford.
Yeah, makes sense. Now, Cole, so in the Marlboro game, there was a signature moment, just like the championship game, where in the first inning we loaded the bases. Marlborough had scored 2 runs in the top of the first. We had the top of the first. We load the bases and don't score in the first inning, which was a killer. In Westford, in the championship game, Will leads off with an out. Brady flies out, and up comes Thomas. Now, Westford scored 2 runs in the top of the first in the championship. So Westford's up 2-0. Our first 2 batters get out. We look flat. Up comes Thomas. Base hit. Okay? And then up comes Cole, who absolutely crushes a double to left. 2 out hitting by Thomas, 2 out huge RBI by Cole. And then Thomas, Cole, you scored on a couple of pass balls. Mm-hmm. So now we leave the first inning tied 2-2. Marlborough, we can't capitalize, and we don't ever come back. Westford, we send the message early. You got 2, we got 2. Cole, how big was that, do you think?
It was a big message. I still don't know. Even though we won by 13 runs, I'm not sure that we would have won that game if we hadn't scored those 2 runs. I think that our team would have been so flat. I think our team would have been the happiness of our team and thoughts of our team may have been very negative, and I'm not sure how well we would have done. I'm not saying we would have lost, but I think it would have been much harder.
So, Thomas, let me ask you, we noticed in the beginning of that Westford game that they called up a couple of 15-year-olds for that game. So I have 2 questions for you. First, does that piss you off? I mean, were you pissed off about that?
I mean, yeah, they're kind of like bending the rules to try to win. Like they've been sticking with that team all year. And then when you call up like 2 players that aren't really like a part of your team and they're older and they're better to play, it's just kind of like annoying, you know?
So I thought of when Riley was hurt and Storm couldn't play, I actually debated calling up a 15-year-old or 2. And I actually said to Cole, I decided not to because I wanted to win with how we got there. Would you guys have been frustrated with me if I had done that?
I mean, it would have taken a little bit of like the pride out of winning since, you know, we got like 2 15-year-olds. They can obviously hit the ball, they'll field the ball. They're obviously, I hope they're going to be better than like everyone else there because of the experience and the skill level they're bringing.
Cole, how would you have felt about that?
I wouldn't have been upset, but I agree with Thomas that it would have felt a little bit of like if we had won, I wouldn't have felt as great because like we had like older people that we hadn't gone with all season, but it felt a lot better to win with what we had.
Okay, so then it's 2-2 going into the bottom of the second. We score 5 runs in the bottom of the second, keyed by a double by Alex Carpenter. So we jump out 7-2. We're feeling great. We're like, we got this game going. And then all of a sudden, in the top of the third, Brady runs into trouble. They score 4, and they make it 7-6. So, Alex, for you came in to relieve Brady. That was a huge point in that game from a momentum perspective. You knew you had to kind of stem the tide a little bit. So what were your thoughts coming in that situation, knowing that we didn't want to give all the runs back from the lead we had?
I mean, you know, I'll say it again, but I was honestly pretty calm. I knew that if I just did my job and threw strikes and allowed them to put it in play, you know, because I'm not a strikeout pitcher. I rely on our defense a lot of the time, and we have a really good defense. So if I can throw strikes and they put it in play, then that's all I really need to do. And, you know, I also knew that we have such a great offense. So obviously there was a little bit of pressure to, you know, stem the tide there. But if I just do my job, I know that I have a great defense and I have a great offense behind me.
Okay, so again, the Westborough champions are faced to be resilient. So 2-0, we tie it 2-2. 7-2, they come back and make it 7-6. So now we're in the bottom of the third. It's a boxing match. We had a punch back. We scored 12 runs in the bottom of the third. We send up 16 hitters in that inning, okay? But here's the crazy part, guys. I'm looking at the box. So Sawyer leads off with a walk. Logan reaches by error. Nathan reaches by error. Cam grounds out. And before Alex comes up, I mean, they should have been out of that inning. You know, it's so funny. We were haunted by errors a lot during the year. And how deflating is it when you score 4 runs and that you let the first 2 guys reach by error on the other team? Alex has another big hit. Will gets out. Brady walks. Thomas walks. Cole gets his 3rd hit of the game and now has 5 RBIs through 3 innings. So the point is that we really put the nail in the coffin in that inning. It started to rain. That was the inning with the rain delay. So Thomas, for you, was that just like heaven? Like it just seemed like we couldn't get out that inning.
Oh yeah, well, I feel like after the first 2 hours, the defense started overthinking. And then once we started putting the ball in play, they made more and more and more. And then once we took advantage of the errors by hitting, like Cole had a couple of RBIs, took advantage of errors, men reached on base, walks, those like plagued the other team so greatly, and we just took advantage, and that's how we won the game.
And by the way, one thing about Thomas's performance in the championship game. Reached base all 4 times, single and 3 walks. Pretty impressive. As a matter of fact, all 3 guys on this show reached base every time up in the championship game. You 3 were 11 for 11 getting on base for the championship game.
We should just change
That's
our
crazy.
name. Our on-base percentage of this podcast is crazy.
Now, let's talk about the big moment for Westborough in the game. Logan Mutch comes up to bat, okay? So here comes Logan. Logan, who had a kind of a weird season offensively. He struggled batting average-wise, but he led the team in walks. Like, he got on base a ton. So Logan comes out and just hits this ball to center, and the wind just carries it and carries it. Now, Alex, when I waved home Logan, were you guys thinking I needed a drug check there or something like that? What were you thinking?
Nah, we're up by like...
Not at all. I mean, like, when you were waving him home, like, our team loves, like, the big moments. And how are we going to pass up a chance for Logan to get it inside the park home run? And we are already winning by so much that, you know, it's safe to say we had a little bit of breathing room. And the fact that you waved him home was just so great because he got the inside the park homer.
Thomas, what were you going to say about that?
I was just like, we're up by like 12. Might as well send him. Plus, it's the championship.
Yeah, and Logan, I got to tell you, and I'm going to say this about Logan, Justin, and Thomas. They're deceptively fast. You know, when you have tall people, you guys have the strides you guys take are so big. You get around the bases really quick. Like Thomas, whenever you on second, I had such confidence in sending you to steal third because you get there with those strides. So that was an exciting moment for Logan. But before we get to the final inning, we got to talk about Clutch Cam for a minute because how could we end this show? Now, listen, I got to tell all 3 of you, and Alex, I'm going to start with you on this. So Cam started the year 0 for 11. Okay, and
wow.
I'm going to be very honest because I told Cam this and his dad at the end of the season. As the coach, I'm like, man, I don't think this guy can hit. Like, he made a bunch of errors in the first couple of games. Don't think he can hit. But then we work with him a little bit to build his confidence up, and it felt like he just kept. For the rest of the season, he only made 1 error after the second game, was very consistent, reliable defensively, and the kid just found ways to get big hits for us. I mean, Cole, what was up with Clutch Cam? I mean, he really came through.
Well, I think he kind of fed off. Like, I think the hype around Cam was kind of like joking hype at the beginning of the season, but like I think he kind of fed off that, and he was really like excited, and he really hit a bomb in the championship. Like that went to like.
Wait, he did?
Yeah,
he singled in the second inning.
Yeah, it was a fly.
Oh
ball.
he singled in the second inning.
He reached on an arrow. It was a fly ball, but it was still a really good hit.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And yeah, that was awesome.
And Thomas, what about Wheels, Riley Ford? I mean, have you ever seen a guy run so fast in your life?
Nah, he's like a blur around the base path.
He really is.
You got to have like a really good vision to see him. It's like you see the maroon blur around the base path, and he's on third.
Well, and the crazy thing about Riley, Alex, is he like hits with his upper body only. Like he doesn't use.
Yeah, him and
I
Logan.
know.
But he always gets it to left field. Like he still hits it pretty hard.
I know. Riley's had so many big hits this year.
Yeah, so that was pretty good. So, all right, so now we go into the so now we're up. The rain delay resumes. We're up, I think, 19-6, heading into the heading into the top of the fourth. They score 2 to make it 19-8, and
Close game.
we score 3 more, and then we go out in the top of the fifth. And I said to all of you guys, don't let up. I don't care what the score is. And then the first 2 batters, ridiculous errors by up, and your coach was going to blow a gasket because we were losing our intensity. So, Cole, you've seen me in those moments. I mean, did you think I overreacted, or was that the right thing in that situation?
No, I think that was the right thing because we still could have lost the game. Like, it would have been something if there was like 2 outs and we made those errors, like whatever about then. Like, then I would have thought you were overreacting, but there's no outs and there's 2 people on base, and this game wasn't over. The top of their lineup was coming up, if I'm correct.
Yes, it was the top of their order. Yep.
And so, no, I don't think that was an overreaction at all. I think that's what we needed. And ever since that, we pulled through and won.
So what happens is they lead off they get on walk, error, and so the bases are loaded, and I'm like, oh man, maybe Alex is a little tired here. I got to. Thomas had asked me to come in before the inning started, and so, Thomas. I mean, what do you think about the coaching decision not to bring in Thomas Cashman late in that game?
I mean, I get that. Like, past few games, I haven't been just good. I've just been missing the zone up high. I haven't found my rhythm in a couple of games, and as a closer, a guy you rely on, depend on, just usually shut the door. I wasn't really trustworthy to save the game anymore.
Yeah, well, the irony is, and Thomas, you don't even know this, is I was ready to put you in for Alex, but it was getting dark, and I was worried we were going to lose time in the warm-up and stuff, so I said, we just got to get this game in, which is why I didn't change it. But I want to ask both Thomas and Alex a question about pitching for a minute. Guys, I got to tell you, I remember I used to pitch when I was your age, and I sucked. I mean, I'm just going to tell you I sucked. And when I watch guys your age pitch, and Thomas, I'm going to start with you. You throw pretty hard. You have a pretty decent curveball, especially for your age. I mean, how hard is it when you lose the control to get it back? It just feels like that's not easy.
Yeah, it's just it's a weird feeling to explain because the way I lost my control was weird. It was really inconsistent. I wasn't just throwing balls. I walked 3 kids, then I struck out a kid on 3 straight strikes right down the middle, and then I went back to walking kids. But it's so frustrating to know that you can strike all of these kids out, and you can get outs, but you're just not hitting the zone the way you want to, and it's just very frustrating.
Well, and what's interesting about you and Justin is you both throw hard, and I find with guys that throw hard, if you try to regain your control by throwing slower, it doesn't really work.
No, I hate it when I steer the ball. My dad tells me to slow it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially the lower part of the order. He tells me to slow it down, make sure to throw strikes. But I'm if I slow it down, I'm just gonna throw more balls. That's part of my windup. I just throw hard, and my windup is I just gotta keep it the same. If I'm throwing balls, then I'll just fix it. But when I'm throwing strikes, I'm just gonna keep on doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, and Alex, for you, you're the opposite. I mean, your accuracy is really good, but you don't throw hard. And, in the beginning of the year when I hadn't really seen you play a lot, and I saw you pitch the first couple of times and didn't pitch that fast, I thought to myself, man, that kid's going to get hit hard. He doesn't throw fast enough. But then all through the year, what I think happens, Alex, is because you don't throw as hard, I think that you throw the timing off of a lot of hitters because kids get out in front of it. So do you ever, as you've gotten older and pitched, have you ever worried, man, if I don't throw harder? Or it's no, you're I'm just going to keep concentrating on accuracy?
At first, I did think that. I'd be what if I don't throw hard? Are they going to really crush it off me? But I found a couple times, I think it was during the beginning of the year, a couple times when I would try to throw harder, they would be right on it and they would hit it. So I kind of used my, I guess, lack of velocity to my advantage. It would just focus on accuracy. Because if I can hit the spots, if I can throw towards the outside part of the plate, or even throw to the inside part of the plate, no matter how, slow I throw it, they aren't going to really hit it. And I've found that it also messes off their timing. And I've got a lot of ground balls, and I've got a lot of, very weak fly balls, which the defense has done a great job with.
Now, I want to ask all 3 of you. I want to ask you, and you can pick either offensively or defensively. When you look at our roster this year, I want you to pick the player, legit, that you think surprised you the most in a good way, obviously, either overachieved or played above where they normally play. Who would you guys pick as kind of the surprise player for our roster this year?
Honestly, it would be Alex. I saw.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. But I saw you before, and no offense, but I was expecting you to be a contact hitter, singles, doubles, maybe not that clutch, like to get a few hits here and there, and to be an average fielder. But the difference between you and spring ball and summer ball was like huge. You started making plays. You're a great pitcher. You started getting clutch hits, and it was just it was good to watch.
Yeah, and Alex, let me ask you a quick follow-up before we go to Cole on this. I think that's a great thought by Thomas. And you were out of sports for the better part of a year with COVID, right? Like
Yeah.
And so did you feel like when you started playing baseball again, whether it was rust or just, being out of sports, do you think that affected you at all or no?
I think it did a little bit. I didn't know how it was going to be because I had been out of sports for that long. And honestly, after the first few games, I kind of just really got it back. Like I regained like all the stuff that I had lost that past year. And it was really cool throughout the year seeing me improve in so many different ways. Cause the more baseball you play, the better you're obviously going to get.
Yeah. And Alex, one thing about you that I always liked is, when you were struggling a lot of the year offensively, a lot of kids, if they're not doing well offensively, kind of have a bad attitude or kind of let it affect their fielding or other parts of the game. And as we've detailed on this program, you kept a good attitude. I batted you at the bottom of the order. You never complained once. And so that was pretty awesome. So, Alex, let's go to you. Who would you say the player was on the roster that went above and beyond?
I'm actually going to say Cole because I knew Cole was a good hitter. But I did not think that Cole was going to lead our team in batting average at the end of the year. And to be fair, I haven't been on his team a lot, but from the years past, I always knew he was a good hitter, but I didn't think he was ever a really great hitter. But that just completely shattered this season. Cole was by far one of the best hitters on our team. And that last game showed he went 4 for 4. Every hit was super hard. And he also made some good plays in the field to go along with it.
Yep, that's great.
Thank you, Alex. I appreciate that.
And Cole, what about you?
Yeah.
Who would you say yours is?
I think there's two players, offensively and defensively. Offensively, I'd say Max. I was actually going to say Alex, but I'd have to say Max now, because I feel like Max, last season in summer ball, like 2020, he really didn't make much contact. He really didn't get on base. He batted at the bottom of the order. And when he was on the team this year, I was like, I don't know how this guy's going to be, but he really came out good at the last game of the season. He was batting 5th in our order. He had a really solid season. He found ways to get on base, and he had a positive attitude on the bench.
Yeah, so Cole, before you get to the second player, I want to talk with you guys for a few things about Max. So when you grow up in Boston, and you grow up in the Northeast, we're taught to like players who hustle, who have a lot of heart, who give a lot of energy. And so, we look at guys, I don't know how well you guys remember Trot Nixon, kind of in the old Red Sox. Like Alex Verdugo is kind of like a little bit like Trot Nixon used to be. But my point is we like guys who hustle and play with a lot of heart. Max, when you watch his demeanor, he doesn't look like he's that into the game. He's pretty quiet. He's pretty mellow. But it's not an indicator on how much he cares. But you get what I'm saying? Like, when you look at him, you don't think he cares that much, yeah, Thomas.
He's like a little bit mellow. He's just kind of on the bench, and you have no clue what he's thinking of. Like, you don't know if he's thinking of the game or what he was eating for breakfast.
Right. Thomas, I couldn't say it any better. And Cole, you're so right. He was 4th on the team in batting average. He was 2nd or 3rd on the team in walks, had some big hits for us. And what's interesting about Max, too, is I could put him at 3rd or catcher. He came in that pitcher to end up that one game, and he was pretty reliable. Wherever I put him, he was pretty reliable.
Yeah, he's got a great skill set for a baseball player.
All right, now, Cole, who was the other one you were going to say?
Well, I think there's two players defensively that I think really, really improved this year. One that improved and one that just changed positions very abruptly and really surprised me. The person that improved was Logan Mutch. Logan Mutch at third base was a stud this year. He had trouble in the regular season hitting, but in the playoffs he kind of put it together. And fielding-wise, he made the plays at third base. When he got a ground ball, he fired it to first. He was accurate. He's always had a great arm, but he's never been able to be accurate. And so that was really cool. And the person that I think changed positions very abruptly, Nate and Thomas, but I think Thomas really had a real adjustment from going to pitcher to first base to catcher. Like, that's a tough adjustment.
You even played some outfield for us.
Yeah.
Remember left field against Westford in Westford?
Oh, yeah. I remember
So
that.
Thomas
Oh,
was
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
versatile throughout the season. So I think that speaks to how good of an athlete, and not only a baseball player, but how good of a skilled athlete he is.
Well, so Alex, I want to go to you. First, let's talk about Logan for a minute. The thing about Logan that's funny, and you guys know him so well, the one thing that I learned about Logan this year is, you know what Logan's biggest challenge when he plays sports? And I'm not going to say football. I haven't seen him play football. But when it's baseball or basketball, he gets bored. Like when Logan is bored and not interested, he tends to struggle. But when he's into the game and locked in, he's good. Would you guys agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go, Alex.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's, like, definitely true. And, I mean, we saw, like, in the playoffs, when, the stakes were high, he really stepped it up. And when he was focused, he literally hit a double, a triple, and an inside the park homer. So
I don't want to, there's three more topics I want to cover before we wrap up. One is catching, and Cole just kind of alluded to it with Nate White. Let's talk about this for a second. So Nate White missed most of the season, went away, comes back, struggled at the plate, kind of getting his timing and rhythm back. But all of a sudden I say to Nate a few games before the playoffs, I'm like, Nate, you play catcher? He's like, yeah, I play catcher. The kid's a freaking athlete back there. I mean, he's so athletic and so active. I felt like, and nothing against Riley and Max, they did a nice job for us at catcher this year, but I felt putting Nate back, he gave our team so much energy back there. Cole, thoughts on the contributions Nate made at catcher?
Well, I felt a lot more reassured with Nate and Thomas at catcher because I know Riley and all four catchers are good at blocking the ball, but I felt more confident, like right when a person would steal, I'm like, okay, now they're on second. Like I didn't think there was a real shot that they'd get thrown out. With Thomas and Nate, I thought there was definitely a shot. Thomas is a gun of an arm, and he can throw it accurate, but
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Nate is very accurate, but he doesn't throw as fast, but he can put it in the spots where that it needs to go to get the out. So I think those two catchers really made me feel a lot more confident that steals would be thrown out.
Yeah, and Alex, I got to go to you on this because one thing about, I've known you guys for a long time in the different sports. You guys might take it for granted because you don't know what it's like to play with another group of people in another town. Although, Thomas, in hockey, you play with different guys in hockey and stuff. There wasn't one bad attitude on this team. Like, everybody has a good attitude, a good approach. And as a coach, over the course of my life, I've coached plenty of teams where there's bad attitudes and bad seeds. So do you guys realize, Alex, like how special that is as you go into high school, that you have such a great group of kids that play together?
Yeah, like, I played on other teams, with kids from other towns, and I'm just going to say, like, some of their attitudes aren't super great, but, I mean, with Westborough, like, I didn't even think about this till now, but it's really so true. Like, looking back on the season, everyone was positive, everyone had a great attitude. When someone made a mistake, they would always pick them up, and it was really one of the strengths of our team, and with that good attitude, we allowed, like, to, obviously acknowledge when someone made a mistake, but we picked them up after that. And then they were able to make very good plays after that.
Yeah, and so, guys, I want to, as a final topic for the show, talk about our leadership on the team. And there's two guys that come to mind who have very different styles. One of them is Brady. And I want to talk about Brady because Brady, to me, is funny. Like, he's always kind of goofing around, being silly. But that's not because he doesn't care. Like, I think he likes to keep people loose and relaxed.
Yeah, I think that's how he plays his game.
Yeah.
That's, like, when he's locked in, like, sometimes he won't talk, but when he's in a rhythm, like, he'll goof around, he'll make jokes, and that's just how he plays. Like, he's not the guy that you just, like, that's laser focused in all the time, just doesn't talk to his teammates, just thinks about the game, like, 24/7. Like, he'll make jokes. He'll lighten everyone up. He does, like, he's that guy.
Yeah, and I think, Cole, one thing about Brady, and you and I talked about this time to time after games, is he has such a great baseball IQ. Like, he's such a smart player, whether he's playing center, pitcher, hitting. He just does the little things really well.
Yeah, I agree. And another person I think has a great baseball IQ, our first two hitters, in fact, Will, I
Yeah.
think has a great baseball IQ. I know he goes to a lot of Woo Sox games. I know he watches a lot of baseball, and I know he's been playing for a long time. So I know he really loves the game and he really knows a ton about the game. He didn't make a lot of mistakes on the field. He was a smart base runner. He didn't make many errors at all. I don't think he made one error the whole year. So Will Edinburgh and Brady Chapman had two great IQs on our team.
Yeah, and Thomas with Will, he's quiet leader. Like he leads by example more so. And with Will, he had such a bad break in that opening game where he hurt his ankle and he came back. But the thing I like about Will is, like Cole said, he has a good IQ. But Thomas, talk about the difference between kind of a quiet leader like Will and leading by example and kind of more Brady style and how those are different.
Well, if you want to like a guy to talk to, like you might talk to Brady, like he'll lighten your mood up. But if you want to see how baseball is like played, and like if you want to watch someone to like do it right, you'll watch Will, because he does everything right. His footwork, his throwing, he doesn't make a lot of errors, like Cole said.
His fundamentals are so great.
Yeah, he's really good at the game, and I've grown up playing with him. He's one of my best friends, and I can say that he's just great at the game.
And our first three hitters, Brady and Will, I sometimes interchange them at 1-2, but Brady, Will, Thomas, that was almost the entire year, our first three hitters in the order, and very dependable, and it worked out really well. All right, guys, final thoughts. Alex, let's start with you. Any final thoughts and takeaways from the season as we wrap the show up?
I thought it was a really good year. I think the things that we did well is we played really good defense. We started off a little bit weak. We had a couple, that Northborough game. We had a lot of errors that game. But honestly, except for that Marlborough game towards the end of the year, we played really, really great defense all year out, and it's really what brought us the championship. Defense wins championships. So as we saw with that, that's certainly true.
Yep. Thomas?
I just thought our mentality throughout the year was great. I had a lot of fun playing with this team. And as Alex said before, if you made mistakes in the field, like they might like joke around with you about it, like, but you won't really feel like that bad about it. And it was just really fun playing with this team all year.
Cole?
I couldn't have said it better than Thomas.
So my final thought is, my favorite thing about this team is we got better as the year went along. And it's a little unfair because in the first 4 or 5 games, we had trouble fielding enough players. So we didn't even have our full roster for the first half of the season. But the thing is the mark of any good team is a team that continues to improve. Our defense was markedly better in the second half of the season than it was the first half. Justin McCafferty had some huge pitching performances for us. Thomas, Brady, Alex, all big for us on the mound as the year went on. Our outfield was steady. Cole rocking left, Brady in center. Will or Justin at short, Logan or Max at third. So we just had steady play all around, but it got better. So otherwise, that's it. So for Thomas Cashman, Alex Carpenter, Cole Altman, and Mark Altman, that's going to be a wrap for The Right Call. We'll see you same time next year to celebrate the next championship.